Continue chatting, whatever you want.
Am I starting up here?
Yeah, we're going to start. Welcome to whatever this is going to be. And it's starting with the idea that we're starting with an idea. The idea is called the Museum of Urban Life. And what that is an idea that we hope to bring into a space. What we imagine is that we have an opportunity to bring creative people from all of the different communities that we're engaged in and engaged with. We can bring all of these people together in a space and imagine designing Edmonton. Imagine designing life in a city. Imagine a museum that is the life that we're living. That's the life we want to live, the life we have lived, the reflections on space, on concrete, on paint, on motion and commons and architecture and design and computation and information management and all sorts of things, whatever we can imagine. That's what we want this space to be. We want a museum that's open to all sorts of ways of living, in all of the ways that we live, but all of the ways that we live in the city, in this city, not in some city, our lives. We want a museum that talks about our lives as we're living it now. And we want a structure that's completely as we can be, open to process, so that people can see, whoever people is, students, children, people walking the street, us, our friends, our parents, people next year, that they can see how stuff gets created. And they can see that they are creative people and that they can engage in making art. This all started with a conversation here after watching a film, and there's a whole bunch of students sitting around, and we were all like, what are we creating this week? What are we making right now? And everybody's like, well, we're not making anything. And I was like, well, why aren't we making anything? I was like, well, what do you do? Like, how does that happen? And we kind of realized that in the conversation, we needed some structure, some space that people to get interested in and get involved in. We also wanted to draw from all sorts of different practices and traditions and ideas in a space where it's not just the same artists getting together that share the same discipline, the same history, the same ideas, the same medium, whatever. We didn't want that anymore. We want something that feels more like our lives, something that's completely engaged in all sorts of different things and all sorts of different interests. And for me, this kind of space, I'm from Nova Scotia, this kind of space I was introduced to, not this space, but this idea of bringing people together that don't know each other from different spaces and seeing what's happened, was introduced to me when I was 15 years old. And I went to a coffee shop because I was working back shift at a grocery store. I went to a coffee shop, and it was a Tim Hortons that stayed open 24 hours, and the security guard started a book club. It was a science fiction book club that only happened between 3 and 6 a.m. And I was like, I was awake, it was the middle of the night, and I wasn't working that night, and I was used to working every night, so I was like, where am I gonna go? It was the only place open, and I went in and I sat in the corner with my coffee, and all of these guys, who were probably my age now, we're all sitting around this table having this enchanting conversation about shit that I had no knowledge of at all. And they just kind of watching me, watching them, and they're like, ha ha ha, come over here and sit down. Take this book and go home and read it. I'll see you next week. This is a book club. You just joined. Ha ha ha. And that was it. I spent the rest of the summer reading books that I had never heard about before. Science fiction authors from like hippies from the Valley of Nova Scotia. And it totally blew my mind. And it, in some ways, changed my life. And that moment doesn't happen very often. That space doesn't exist very often. This is kind of a magical opportunity and a magical space. The Museum of Urban Life is that idea. It's that opportunity to walk into you know, a security guard that has a love affair with science fiction and pass you the right thing at the right time, whether you're 15 or 50, and you enter into a new conversation about the life that you're living now. That's my idea. That's why I am an artist. That's how I ended up with a PhD. Because it's like, oh, but I want to learn more. I want to find more and experiment more. This is that experiment. This is our opportunity, if you want, to make an experiment. And I just thought, wouldn't it be cool if we made an experiment that experimented with a museum, which has this feeling of austerity and importance, and urban life, which has this kind of concrete liveness, and put them together. And that tension and that conflict is kind of what we all felt when we were talking about it. That conflict we also find is incredibly creative, as the pictures that here and this space illustrates. We want to explore that. And the opportunity to explore it coincided with us exploring this space, discovering this space, and Michael and the gang that created it. So this is an expression of what Edmonton is. This is a part of our lives, and this is a space that's open to us to play, to create things that don't exist, and it won't cost us anything unless you want to, and it'll take whatever you can give it, and we'll explore this as far as, you know, to do whatever we can with this space. This is our space. This is not my space or any of the people that are organizing the museum. This is our space. This is open source creativity, and our focus is our lives. We are the curators of the space, if you want to be. And you were all invited here because somebody is connected to you that said, you got to be here. And that's why you're here. Nobody is here accidentally. Everybody looked at you. Somebody looked at you and said, here's that science fiction book. This is maybe what you need right now to explore. Maybe this is for you. So just to feel like you're at home and to feel comfortable, I want to turn it over to the guys that started the place so you can get a sense of what this is.
Ow, ow!
Hey everyone. We are the directors of the not-for-profit organization, the Creative Clubhouse, and this is the Clubhouse. I'm Michael.
I'm Nick. Travis.
We've had this space for 2 years. The first year it was just kind of our own space to play in, and jam, and it's just a jam space for mine and Travis's band. Nick was around. And then the second year, we started a not-for-profit arts organization. And ever since, we've just been using it for a variety of different arts to create and exhibit art and things like that.
Some of the things we've sort of worked on in the past, our biggest thing would be Alberta Culture Days, which was back in September. It was a 2-day festival that was funded by the government, actually. A couple people here actually were partaking in it. I'm not going to throw
Lori, you did this right here.
So that's where a lot of this art came together. We also had a musical showcase. We helped feed the community as well with some of that funding. On top of that, we've thrown a couple shows. What else have we done?
Well, this is a very fitting place for talking about rejuvenation because the Boyle Street Renaissance is going on in this area, so we're directly impacted by that rejuvenation.
The city's very intent on getting a lot of arts in this community.
Yeah.
There's an artist quarter that we're discussing to put down just at the end of 95th Street or 96th Street, I believe. And this whole area is getting a renaissance, as maybe you've seen already online through some of the posts that Michael or one of us has put on there.
Yeah. So thanks for coming, and if you guys want to talk to one of us after about using the space anytime you want, we have people come in every week and just experiment and create and play. And if you want to exhibit something, then yeah, just talk to us.
And just one more note, everything you see here, whether it's on the walls or whether you're sitting on it or playing with it, it's been donated by someone who's been here. And that's kind of like the whole idea. You've been here and you make it a public view.
It's a lot of the community spirit. We're trying to connect different creative communities, whether it's visual arts or music and sound or any kind of art you can think of. It's a what we're about, connecting communities.
And I also have someone's gloves.
Those are my gloves.
Guys, have fun. You want to have a drink or whatever?
Yeah, there's free water.
Yeah, free water.
Whoever.
My name is Emily, and I'm going to talk to you next about the kind of the plan going forward after tonight. We are thinking of utilizing this great space going forward I'll try not to just read, but okay, so the value of human experience is not measured in degrees from institutions. So like many critically engaged citizens initiating socially oriented projects, we embrace amateurism and celebrate the creative potential of any given group of people. So, much like artists can work across boundaries without being held accountable for quantitative results, we are currently unfunded and unaffiliated, so we can exercise a unique level of agency and autonomy in our projects, like what Michael was saying. So taking from what's already been discussed tonight, and what else we end up doing tonight, just keep in mind that we're welcoming project proposals for the first artist residency. That'll be a 4-week period from April 1st till May 1st, where we invite projects to just use this space and develop, and then after that 4-week period, we'll have 2 weeks of like an exhibition or open studio time. And during this time, during the exhibition time, the public would be invited to come and see or experience whatever emerged from this experimentation time. And it doesn't have to be completed at that point, because it might never get completed, you know, whatever it is you want to work on. But there can still be a lot of value in that experimentation. So if you're interested, what did I write next? Yeah, and again, this very neighborhood is going to be undergoing like a huge renaissance or revitalization, and there's a bit of information on that online, and it's just something to think about, like what is a new vitalization? We kind of came up with new vitalization because we were basically trying to... It's free, man. New vitalization came about because we were kind of thinking to revitalize the word revitalization. It gets used a lot, including in the proposal for this neighborhood. So we're like, well, beyond revitalization, like let's think of new stuff and just go in that direction. So what can come out of that? It can be related to urban design. Svetlana is going to come next and talk a little bit more about new vitalization to wrap up our little presentation. So it's related to urban design, but also the social life and reconsidering the social and cultural fabric of urban life. So no project is too big or too small. That may or may not end up, I'm not sure if that statement has been authorized by reality, but we're not worried about that. So we're just accepting the project proposals via email, but you can also just contact us with questions, or if you have a bit of an idea and you're not sure where to go with it, or if it would work or not, just get in touch. Maybe we can get a group of people to work with you and just kind of make some stuff happen. Museum of Urban Life at Gmail. museumofurbanlife@gmail.com. And of course we're on Facebook, and we have a WordPress now too. museumofurbanlife.wordpress.com. Yes. Okay. So Anna.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, everybody. Michael, Nicholas, Travis. I'm Svetlana, and I am part of this, Holly, of this project, which was born not so long ago time, but as Michael and Emily said, the Museum of Urban Life, what is it? It is an institution. It is a little bit complex institution because it combines in itself an institution per se, museum, and urban life. Such an unpredictable, complex, vital process, right, which we are not controlling. So, we have a policy, all right? As a normal institution, we have a policy. What is the policy? It is firstly collaboration, it is interaction, and it is participation. So we want to invite you to interact with us, with this space. We want you to collaborate with us, with you all together, and with this space. And we want to turn this space into something where everybody can participate in the new vitalization of this space, of your life, of Edmonton's life, of everything that you can imagine that can potentially revitalize, right? So, we want to invite you right here, right now, to participate in this process of new vitalization and to use art as the use art and your creativity. Oh my God. So, use art and experiment with it, okay, in order to explore the interaction between the urban life and the social life, between the architecture, urban design, whatever you imply in this notion of urban space, urban life, and human life, your own life. So, the main goal of the Museum of Urban Life is socially engaged art. And as future curators of this space, we are interested in the process, not in the final object, not in the final idea, in the final piece of art, but really in the process of creation. We are interested in your ideas. So we encourage the usage of any medium in realizing your ideas. So what does it mean for you, urban space, urban life? What role does it have in your personal experience? That's what we are interested in to see and to know and to learn from you. So now we invite you to create, to make art. We have some stations here in this space. We have 4 of them. We have a Lego station, which is right there. We have a sound station, which is right there. We have the art station, which is over here with paper, markers, glue, some stuff. And we have also animation station over there. So, how to imagine the new vitalization? This is your thematic, this is the theme of our first meeting, of our first project. So now we just want to collaborate and participate in this creative process and to come up with some ideas about it.
Just to add a final point, when we came up with the idea of new vitalizations, we thought it was really clever. And we thought it sounded great. We have no idea what it means. So instead of sitting around and coming up with a fancy definition for what new vitalizations are or is, we wanted to experiment with a bit of a recursive process. We say new vitalizations, and then we go and use these mediums to produce things. We say new vitalizations. What does that look like in stop animation? What does that sound like in audio? What does that look like in this kind of traditional art form? What does this look like in Legos? Whatever that is, produce that work, and in the process of doing this, our hope is that we will all think a little bit more and learn a little bit more about what new vitalizations could be. That's the idea. We do, and in the process of doing, we come to know. And if we learn something, awesome. If we don't, we try harder. We have space, we have time, we brought stuff. Let's roll up our sleeves and play and see what happens. Thank you all for coming.
Still want to just like make giant cardboard tanks and like put them on an overpass.
Oh, you're welcome.
So you mean you want to build a giant cardboard tank from your car? No. So when you're driving under the overpass, it looks like there's just tanks rolling in.
Ambient noise with fire. We got some traffic.
It's like I have to learn how to let go in collaboration. I still think that my drawing should be really good.
Good, because it will.
Fan machine.
What are you thinking? What? Oh, I've got an idea. Maybe charcoal.
Just do it.
Let's go and ask you.
Well, I have no idea what I mean. Therefore, you should just do it.
Well, I'm hoping to be the same.
Oh, hey.
Okay. Charcoal.
And peel this off.
Yeah, after. Okay, yeah, put some charcoal. Alright.
Fill up with some brown. Oh, I have little pieces or graphic.
What you
It'll go freaking everywhere though, especially in those. Here, what about like these little sticks?
Balls do that. I'll just do the long way.
No, just use this little stick.
But I want my first shot. I want to be this like crafty, like stuff.
Oh, okay, we can start. Yeah, we should start. Okay, hold on. Someone bring a trumpet?
But it does two things. It keeps all of the tracks separate. And the other thing that it does is instead of being like speakers, like you said, this is more like a musician when you play, sound comes out from the center. So it fills the space more naturally.
So it's really fun for mixing.
You mean mixing like a music and like a DJ did?
Well, not exactly like a DJ. It's more like
I'm not gonna lie. It's like I used to play the trumpet.
Ambient sound, like textures and things.
like so. Check this out.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's the sound of
Didn't really need, I was losing my wits.
which is